So you've thought about starting a podcast, or maybe you've even started your podcast, yet things aren't going quite as planned. That's because there's several things that no one tells you about starting a podcast. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what those things are. I'm Sebastian Rusk, and I help people start a podcast. I'm about to give you 4 tips that no one tells you about starting a podcast. Now, don't just listen and watch these tips. Take them and implement them into your podcast game. I firmly believe you will see things change for the better regarding you and your podcast. Let's get down to it. All right, let's just start with the big one first. What no one tells you before starting a podcast is it is going to take work. That's right. There's a lot of steps involved with starting a podcast. There's a lot of steps involved with planning your episode, recording your episode, producing it, getting it, uploading it, marketing it, etc., etc. So understand, like anything worthwhile that you may be building, it's going to take work. That's right. Blood, sweat, and tears until you get this thing exactly where you want it. It's episode after episode, after interview, learning, revising. But again, it's going to take work. So don't discount the fact that when starting a podcast, it's going to require a ton of work. Now, it's not overwhelming, and I can guarantee you, based on my experience over the past 12 years, it will change your life and your business if you let it. Now, speaking of changing your life and your business, here's what I mean. I want to give you a couple of examples. Nobody talks about this stuff either, other than, well, here's how many downloads I got or whatever the case may be. No one talks about what's shifted for them as an individual and for their business. When you make new connections and you interview them on your show and you develop a new relationship, those relationships often turn into profitable business relationships. Maybe they turn into a mentorship, or your opportunity to mentor someone based on the relationship that you're developing. You see, it's not always monetarily based when it comes to how your life and business has changed. It's changed through relationships, how you've grown, how your perspective has changed. Have you increased awareness as a podcaster? Have you thought a different way because of a podcast interview or a guest that you had on your podcast? That's what I mean about podcasting literally changing your life and your business if you allow it to, if you're open to it. So remember, we always want this tit for tat, but remember, when it comes to digital marketing in this space we've been in for the past 15 years, the days of beating on doors and trying to get people to come to you are gone. We're in a storytelling audio phase, visual phase, where people are watching, listening, viewing your content and engaging with it. You want to be able to meet them where they're at, and usually that's through means of making sure you are providing a tremendous amount of value to your audience. But again, podcasting change your life. It sure can. It can change your life and your business if you let it. That's just a couple reasons why, based on my experience and what I've lived and what I've seen happen here with the clients that we've had the privilege of being able to help them get their podcast launched here at the Podcast Launch Lab. So living it, seeing it, believing it, and believing it can most definitely work for you is where my head's at, and will continue to be, because I firmly believe that podcasting will change your life and your business if you let it. Okay, next tip. Well, it's not really a tip, but no one tells you this, and that is you don't need expensive equipment to start a podcast. Stop searching on Google. You can literally get a USB microphone. Heck, today they make USB microphones and a microphone that plugs in with an XLR microphone cable in case you decide you want to use a receiver eventually. But for starters, take the USB mic, plug it into your computer, and you, my friend, are off to the races. Audio-Technica makes one. Blue makes one. There's several. So stop overthinking that whole, I have to have a bunch of fancy equipment in order to start a podcast. You can literally start one with your phone and a corded headset in a quiet place, literally. So let's not overthink this. Get a USB mic if you want to improve the quality, and you're off to the races. Remember, stop Googling it. Okay, the last and very important tip, in my opinion, is that starting a podcast can solve all of your social media content problems. Let me say that one more time. Starting a podcast can solve all of your social media content problems. Here's what I mean about that. You can take the content from your podcast episode, the audio and the video, and you can chop it up into micro content and share it on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and everywhere else that you share content on social media, or that you're not currently sharing content on social media. So create a podcast, several pieces of content because of that podcast. That's how you'll solve all of your social media content problems, by starting a podcast. Well, I hope you're leaving this video knowing at least one or two things that you didn't know about what no one tells you about starting a podcast. If you have any questions about starting a podcast, your podcast, or any videos on the channel, please leave a comment below. I do respond to each and every one of you lovely people. Until next time,